Xavier's been up here. Well, it is still one of the great tournaments of college basketball, at least exposure and the way everybody looks at it. Seems like a long time ago, 25 years ago, that I started in this tournament, but it's another great field, and it'll be a difficult task. It's a difficult trip, as you all know. It's a long ways to go, and we'll be flying out there. It's probably, 10, 11 hours. What I worry about most is the time difference. That seems to affect the guys not going as much as coming back. But I said after our game on Monday that we needed to have a couple of really good days of practice, just because of all we've gone through. And we had, I thought, a very good day of practice yesterday where we made some real progress, and today will be critical because tomorrow's a travel day, and then Saturday and Sunday are days on the island, which you don't always get as much done as you'd like to. As far as where we're at right now, as I just said, we hadn't had many good days of practice. We've had a couple good days. It's been mentally taxing first part of this season in a lot of respects. Cassius has been incredible under the circumstances. He had maybe one of his best practices yesterday. He led us well, dealing with what he's had to deal with, and so have the other players. So Aaron is back. Practice FOCO yesterday, no limitations. We did not play him Monday night just because he hadn't practiced in a couple days, and I thought to give him an extra 2 days, which would have been Monday and Tuesday, since I knew we were off. Now with that, it's good for his ankle, but probably bad for his conditioning, so he's going to have to work on that. And we need to continue to get probably contributions from Thomas, Rocket, Marcus, Gabe, Malik. Every one of them is doing something. And now what you look for as a coach, or I hope as a player, is for some consistency. I think we've got to get a little more consistent and kind of know what we're going to get out of each guy. The one thing that was brought to my attention as I was out recruiting Tuesday by a couple other Big Ten coaches was, McQuaid was an interesting guy, and we've kind of missed the consistency he brought every day of practice, every day in the locker room, and every game. Never did he let things bother him. He just played the game to win. He was kind of like the modern day Draymond, where winning was the most important, and that's no slight on any guy we got. It's just different things bother different people. And yet it's hard for me to figure out what's bothering anybody after what we've gone through. I don't know if it's more the situation or each individual guy, but I think the practices had to increase. I think they did yesterday. Today's going to be hopefully another good one, and we'll move on. On Virginia Tech, God, it's hard to believe. They've had a couple kids sitting out at a transfer, but last night they made 21 threes. That's a lot of threes in a game. We've made 28 or 9 for the year. They're shooting almost 50% from the field, averaging more than 13 made threes a game. And probably more important than that is they're shooting almost half their shots or more from the three. Last night they took 37 threes in 62 shots. So a little mind-boggling there. But Landers Noli is a freshman who redshirted last year, and he's been their leading scorer, 20 points a game. Allen scoring 12 points a game. They got a lot of open threes. Maybe it's who they played, but they did have a big win at Clemson, which was a conference game, to start their season. So I think we got our hands full. After them, where our upsets formed, as we always say, they're formed from out of times foul trouble or three-point shooting, and they definitely can shoot the three. Plus, they're very well coached. So I put all those things in a hat, and I say, we are going to have our hands full. If we get by or lose to them, either way, we're going to either play Dayton or Georgia. And that'll be interesting because never been a fan of playing against one of my former assistants. I've had to do it a few times, and if we win and Georgia wins, or if we lose and Georgia loses, we could play them. And, if everything went like Spartans hope it goes, you could win a couple games and get Kansas in the finals. So the schedule does not get any easier, and yet I think we're in a little better place. I think we're making a little bit of progress, and that's what we're going to continue to try to do. Questions?
Tom, every Spartan fan in the world's asking, any update on Joey?
Yeah, I will address that as soon as we get done with this part. I'll give you that part.
Okay.
So anything on
Yep.
the game, the weekend?
You seem to always try to include an element of guys having fun, because why go to Maui if they're not going to get a chance? How do you balance that?
I don't know. I never have any fun. I just sit in a room that has a projector and a TV in there or whatever, and I don't see a lot of what you see now is what you're going to see then. Not good. I don't think tan lines will be part of the equation, but for the players, it is good to, we'll get there Friday late, late our time, I think 4 or 5 o'clock their time. And so hopefully we'll do a little pool workout, something to get the blood going, and then they'll get a little time. Those of you that have been to Maui before, it's great, but it's kind of interesting how they don't, the nightlife, restaurants close at 7, 8 o'clock, it seems like, it's a good place to have college guys, probably bad place for you media guys, because there's nothing to do at night, but, we're going to try to let them do some things Friday or Saturday and Sunday. Those days are a little more filled there too. They have banquets and this and that. And you still got to get your practices in. And but it is a business trip. The only advantage compared to when I started, when you told a kid he was going to Maui, he probably didn't sleep for a month. Now these kids have been everywhere. It seems like they've been to the Bahamas, or they've been to Vegas for AU, they've been here, they've been there. So it's not quite the same, although we plan on using this as a little team time too to regroup, and hopefully we'll do that.
Just so you know, I think we'll figure out something to do at night. It's just my guess.
Probably.
Fight through adversity.
Yeah. But in terms of, you've kind of mentioned that how you're going to sit and watch film and all that, but it's that tournament setting. Obviously, you guys have done it so much, and how does that help a team, and especially young guys, this early in the season when you're not really going to do it again?
Yeah, that is a good question, because I keep telling you that I think we got some veterans, but we do have a lot more young guys than we do veterans, and guys that have never been there. And that freshman, sophomore, even part of the junior class hasn't been through a lot of that, and the freshmen and sophomores never played, even in the NCAA tournament where you play every other night, or when we were in Vegas last year, some of those guys didn't play much. So it is going to be a new experience for them, and I think it'll be a grind. My big worry is the trip is tough physically, but everybody goes through the same thing physically. The trip is tough mentally, because you have to learn how to prepare for one team, then prepare for another team, then prepare for another team. Win, lose, or draw, you're going to play 3 of them back to back to back. It's our mental condition right now, our mental, how we deal with things mentally when we've already been under some mental strain. I'm not anxious to see, I'm going to see. And we're going to have to, do the best job we can do of dealing with that, because I think that'll still be something to deal with, to be honest with you.
I feel like throughout last season, you pointed back to that Vegas Invitational win a lot as kind of a key moment for that team coming together. I'm wondering if you're able to win an early season tournament like this, what can that do for a team going forward and looking to the postseason?
Well, anytime you win games, it helps you, because we're in a world of confidence is important. We're in a world of, Twitter and people ripping people. So if you lose, you're just going to be inundated in some ways. But I think it helps. I just think that for me, And for some of my guys, we've been through enough, they know why they came here. You shouldn't need a game like that to get you going. You came here, let's say you played at Virginia Tech, an ACC school, and you played at Georgia or Dayton, but potentially an SEC team. And then if you play Kansas, Big 12 team, well, we've already played, the top SEC school, and we've already played, in some people's minds, the best Big East schools. So, it's not just another day at work, but I don't know if winning the tournament is always going to help you, but losing the tournament isn't going to kill you either. And that's kind of the way we have to look at it right now. And this topsy-turvy early season number of big games we're playing in, because, one way or another, we're coming home and we have another, big game. So it just kind of beat keeps going.
I kind of wanted to take you in the Wayback Machine a little bit, but probably not where you think I'm going first.
Northern Michigan, Mariucci and Izzo, is that where you're
Not quite that far back, but 91 you guys went out there when you were an assistant for Judd. I guess, what did you learn from that trip, and then how much did that maybe ease some things in that first game for you when you went there in 95?
Get something straight. There was absolutely nothing that eased that first game for me. I mean, it was, when you have Judd Magic sitting behind you, your first game, that trip meant nothing except I knew how long the flight was. But I did, you do learn how to deal with travel because there's not many places we'll go that'll ever be farther than that, We got our kids hydrating now, we've learned like everybody else. Sure, we turn on the analytics machine and say if you drink 1 bottle of water an hour for the next 20 hours, you're going to be this much better than if you drink a half a bottle an hour. So we got the analytics machines working, and we're a little bit more versed on what to do as far as that goes. But I don't think, my trip there, I was with Jim, and it was good. Like, I was the guy that said, wow, I get to go to Maui, from the UP to Maui. That was pretty cool. And I was feeling great about that. But I don't know if I learned as much as I probably could. I was probably the kid in the candy store just looking around and seeing all the stuff. And, I'd never done anything like that. But I think since then, as a head coach, I learned from that first year that every game is tough, because I've seen so many upsets in this tournament. I've seen, I think, Virginia, when they were one in the country, go down. I've watched UCLA come back after winning a championship. I've been in some of the greatest games there. The Gonzaga game might go down as one of the best games ever there. So I'm constantly learning, and I'm still learning later in my career than early. So that's where I'm heading.
Knowing just how aggressive they are, Virginia Tech, we'll start with them, when it comes offensively and how they shoot, how many threes they shoot. How is this a game for Rocket that he maybe can learn in this game, because you like how he plays defensively. So how can he learn in this game in that aspect, but also, so he doesn't commit a lot of fouls either?
Yeah, I think with Rocket, we do got to realize, everybody's questioning his shooting. We got a lot of guys who question his shooting. If you went through the NCAA book, you'd look at the 25 top teams, and there's a lot of teams shooting in the 20s from the three-point line. I don't know if it's people are defending better. I don't know if it's the moving the line back the 16 inches, whatever it is. But I think I got to make sure he doesn't get caught up on that. Like the last game when he had 6 assists and 7 rebounds, and don't let his offense affect his defense. But we do need him offensively. We do need him to learn how to play in big games. 3 weeks ago I thought Rocco would be the sub, and for a guy who's going to play 30 minutes a game maybe, and now he's been thrown into the lion's den, and I think all in all he's handled it pretty damn good. But this will be another new experience for him, and everybody handles the travel different, everybody handles the pressure different. I know this, he won't be afraid of the moment, and that's all I really care about.
The isolation that these trips often give teams can sometimes have lingering impacts, good or bad, whatever it may be, on leadership, the inner workings of a team. Where's this group right now in that area, and do you want to see individuals step up as guys who have louder voices, things like that?
Yeah, I think I think that's why most coaches do these trips, is, hopefully you don't go there and everybody gets in an argument or, fighting who gets certain space on the beach, so that's, hopefully it's a positive thing, which in my times there, it always has been, but there is something about being, with your own group and not a lot of other people with you, and walking the beach and talking and doing different things. And I mean, we need Cassius and Xavier to step up as leaders. It's been hard to ask Cash to do much more than he's already doing. And so I put some of that on Xavier. I think he has to be a little more demonstrative and a little more, he's so smart, he's got so many incredible qualities, and yet using his voice, I think, is one that I hope, I'll talk to him on the plane. We've got a little bit of time, like 10, 12 hours, so we'll get that done on the plane, and I think that'll be big. I think our guys, if you watch our bench and that, great teammates, our freshmen have been phenomenal in that area, but banding together in this day and age where everybody's so siloed, and I'm sure we're gonna have to take the phones away a couple times so that we make sure we get some things done, and they kind of spend time with each other, not time on their own phone. That'll probably happen, and hopefully that'll help. But I'm really looking for us to grow as a team and grow as a group of guys that hopefully will be playing for something big as the year goes on. Anything else on that?
Chris, did you have one?
Kind of, before you even get to that, I know that Cassius, obviously, with going to Newark was tough for him. How do you kind of mitigate that with him at the moment and try and, do you talk to him through this right now, or how do you expect this trip to go for him?
I try to talk to Cash, to his mom, to his uncle, to somebody close to him every day, and that's going to continue for a long time yet. There's still a lot of healing to be done, and that's going to take some time. So all I can be, I think the best advice I got was, I told you to try to get Cassius back to whatever normal is, the best of whatever normal is. The second piece of advice I got is I got to make sure I do the same thing. Even his mother said to me, you can't treat him differently, because then, it's just a different environment than the one he's been in. So I've got to do my own job on that, and I've got to make sure that I'm doing what I think I did in practice yesterday, be more demanding than last week, but always with open ears, and always ready to listen, and maybe try to read body language a little bit better, which I'm decent at, and those are the things. But going away from home, it was tough at Seton Hall, and yet maybe sometimes getting away too, you can get away just with your teammates, you got nobody else there. I think the hardest thing that he explained to me is when he has a lot of time on his hands. And in a way, you're going to have a lot of time on your hands in some ways, but in a way, if we can rally our team together and spend time doing things and having them do certain things together, maybe it keeps your mind a little freer. That's what we'll try to do.
We'll do one final one, Stephen.
Tom Aaron was just in here saying he's feeling better. I guess come Monday, do you expect him to be all the way 100%, or do you think he'll still be a little limited early on out there?
Who's that?
Aaron.
Oh, Aaron. I thought you said Cassius, and that ain't gonna happen. Aaron, I think he'll be 100% by Monday. I think Aaron's learning too as he goes, the difference between playing hurt and playing injured, and you got to figure that out. And I think we took some steps in that direction I think yesterday's practice, he showed no limping, he showed no ill effects from it. And that's what we thought. We thought it was a sprained ankle, but everybody deals with those kind of things differently. And I think it'll help him grow in the future to see, what he had to do. And I also think giving him those couple extra days off probably helped him too.